What's up everybody? It's Vids, and we're back for some more Mardek, and of course last time we picked up a new Dreamstone and read what was the Dreamstone that we were holding on for a very long time, and they were pretty related at that, so my guess is you can probably figure out who the two people were that they were referring to, or one of them was mentioned by name. But anyways, let's get on out of here, because there's nothing else in this little cave for us, and we'll head back up to, well, the next area with a dream circle and go back into the Lifewood version of the woods, because we actually cannot escape at the moment via a warp, even if we tried. Cannot do so when we're in the dream realm, and I think for the moment we will probably be heading on out of here once we do that. So, okay, Eloine, yes, you still do need to use a little bit of Ballad of Life, but we're getting somewhat close here. Donovan, I think we found previously that attacking the Forgotten Faces with your physical attacks not terribly effective, but we are still trying to master that as well, your offensive reaction. Dark Claw there is actually an ability that Legion can learn. I think Legion has already done so. It is not the Blood Claw, which is the one that we were trying to learn previously from the Red Dragon that it never opted to use. Sounds similar, it is similar, but it is not the same skill. Legion can learn both. So Mardek, I suppose we're still... Oh, we are trying to do the Earth Slash on you, is that correct? Yep. Only halfway there now, and can you take out this Forgotten Face? You cannot quite. As for Slinik, we would like to find opportunity to throw in some boosts, but those are a little bit hard to come by, because remember, physical attacks like Perforate or just a default attack, I don't believe will do any damage to say 100% non-elemental resistance, so that means you more or less have to use a Fire Breath here, Slinik. Why don't you do it on the one that has relatively low HP? Because, yeah, I don't think you're going to have enough damage to take any of the other ones out. At Ballad of Life, it's enough healing there that we're bringing people back up to full HP at least, so there is that. Let's keep it up. Donovan, keep at it. You're definitely not going to take people out yourself. Fortunately, Mardek avoided a stun there. Oh, wow. Actually not sure if we've seen these Forgotten Faces use that skill before. Now Donovan has a bunch of status effects on him, including Confusion, notably, so he could very well attack our own party members. So, in the past, we've had some mixed results with this, deliberately trying to heal the person with that status effect on. Sometimes it's removed the Confusion, other times it is not. We could of course use an item to get rid of some of those things, like a remedy would remove all of them. Is that strictly necessary? Remove Taint would get rid of the curse at least, but that's not really the most pressing of those statuses. It's definitely Confusion that I'm most worried about. But I think Donovan will figure it out, right? I'm sure he'll be fine. Don't worry about him. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure he'll get over it next turn. Definitely won't attack one of our own party members, because why would he ever do that, right? Donovan's a good guy. It's not like he's confused, and yeah, I totally missed the reaction because I actually did not expect him to target the enemy, but, I mean, what? No, of course, he was always going to target the enemy, right? Not like he had a 1 in 5 chance of targeting that one, and I was rather taken aback that he did in fact do the one that we were hoping he would do. Anyways, Forgotten Face is down. Donovan will lose most, or at least, I was gonna say most of the status effects. The Confusion, yes. The other ones, those will stay. Oh, and tell you what, didn't matter that I missed that reaction there, because he has now mastered it. What that means, look at how quickly his indicator is switching from one status to the next, because he has so many on right now. So we might actually want to use a remedy after all, because otherwise that's going to be a bit of a pain applying each individual potion to get rid of one of those statuses. So there we go there. However, with Donovan having finished, I believe, the plus 20% damage being the last skill on the Fire Fang, looks like it is, we can now throw on the Obelisk, which is the strongest of the spears, so it has a new Pyro Shell ability, which we'll definitely want to check out, in addition to having higher attack, some additional MP, strength, spirit. The empowers fire, I mean, if it worked, 50% empowering fire sounds like it'd be nice, but, well, it doesn't, so that's not so much of a thing. So we'll head on back, like I said, and actually, tell you what, let's take a closer look at what some of Donovan's skills are here, because I think Yeah, we're on plus 10% MP. I'm noticing that we theoretically could have a little bit of RP to spare if we were to get rid of this. Well, so obviously Donovan's mastered this, yes. But do we throw on something like Insomnia in case he gets put to sleep? I mean, we did just see that he, of course, had a bunch of status effects in the previous fight. Most notably, if we had Clarity to be Confusion immune, that would perhaps be best. Going down all these little side routes here with the chess. And Eloian is close to mastering Ballad of Life. Donovan, with just one enemy here, this is probably a reasonable time to take a look at what Pyro Shell is. Well, let's see. Gives the target a Pyro Shell status, which nullifies fire damage and damages attackers. That sounds pretty awesome. Give it a shot. Well, the opponent did in fact target Mardek. It wasn't fire elemental damage that they were dealing, however we saw that it did reflect some damage toward the Forgotten Face. Mardek did still get blinded in the process, which is not ideal, but won't stop him from getting close to mastering Earth Slash and does still land a hit. And you can see what the obelisk looks like as well in the fight. A little bit easier to tell. Mardek, we probably should remove that blindness. I think that's one you can get rid of with Remove Taint. It is. This time, this is the right direction. Here we go. Okay. So we'll head on up. Might run into one or two more battles here. The wins, I think they are comparatively a little bit easier than the Forgotten Faces, so they might be a tiny bit faster. Donovan took some damage, but heals it all off here. And we could Pyro Shell again. I'm not, again, terribly sure that it is necessarily best course of action here, but it's interesting, and we're, of course, looking to master it, so we'll make a point of doing it here. Mardek can definitely take these guys out in one hit. That's not an issue. Slinik, what do we think with you? Again, 100% resistance to physical damage, so a default attack and Perforate, neither of them will do any damage here, so we need to Fire Breath if we wanted to do damage. I think this is a reasonable opportunity to get a little bit of boost in, though. So we'll take at least one turn doing that. Eloian, please actively use Ballad of Life, and that will, in fact, be enough for you to master it. Donovan is not done getting cursed yet. At this point in time, we're close enough to the save crystal that even if it does mean we're missing out on a Pyro Shell, probably still okay here. Ooh, notably, we took off Soul Strike, so Donovan is dealing non-elemental damage there with that default attack, so no damage. Of course, he does have Soul Strike if we were to equip it. It does cost 1 RP, but that would have been a difference maker there, at least. Couldn't be too much of a problem, though, because as we saw previously, Mardek can take these guys out. And Slinik, like I was saying before, maybe let's do a little bit more boosting here. Eloian, now that you've mastered Ballad of Life, you could theoretically swap over to Dolores Dirge. It might have enough damage to take this guy out here. It does. So that's useful too. And we'll swap on over Eloian to a different set of sheet music here, now that she's mastered Ballad of Life. I think we have a few options. Let's double check what they are. I think it's either this one here for Ballad of Balance, or this one here for Solid Sonata. Solid Sonata is physical defense. Ballad of Balance splits damage across the whole party. I think, let's go with Solid Sonata for now. It's a little more straightforward, and so I think it's going to be something that we're perhaps a little more likely to use. Not to say that Ballad of Balance is not a good skill. I think we'll find that it is as well, it's just, it's different, and one that is perhaps a little more niche. So now that we've gone back into the Dreamwood version of this place, we can in fact use a warp ability, and I think we should do that, and head back to Aeropolis. Why is that? Because, if you remember, back in the Earth Temple, we ran into a bandit. And a bandit gave us a little key. Not this one. This was the one that we got from the hair ointment, romance novel, scrumptious cake quest that ultimately led us into the room with the red dragon in it. This key here, we have not yet opened a door for this. So let's check around a little bit see if we can find where we might be able to put that to use. There is still one area in Aeropolis that we've not been able to go all the way into. No, I suppose I'm not referring to the actual area where the ruler of Aeropolis is. I'm afraid we will not be able to get in there. However, if you remember a while ago, back in the slums, we saw that there was this door over here to this building. It was previously locked. Now we can make it in using that bandit key. And, well, there's a person who's been locked in here for the entirety of the game, because, we haven't been in here yet. Greetings, my dear bandit friend. Right, of course, bandit friend. How do bandit friends greet each other? I assume you are a bandit who had a key to get in. Can I interest you in some of these special wares? I'm sure you will find them most intoxicatingly sublime. Okay, I don't really like the smile on your face there. But, what do we have here? Some very different looking stuff. This is an eldritch key, a strange pitch-black slither of a thing that seems to be a key. It's frigidly cold to the touch, and seems to be eerily iridescent. Dark Elemental, that's about the only other thing we know about it, costs 8,000 gold. Looks like we're probably going to want to pick that up, because it's a bought item, and we can, of course, afford it. However, we also have... What? Fairies? Now, if you remember, we did, in fact, start a quest, again, a while ago, when we went to the fairy village, in which they said, hey, our fellow fairies have been kidnapped, stolen. If you can bring them back to us, then we'd very much appreciate it. And, well, here they are. The thing is, they each cost 40,000 gold. So, we could afford precisely 2 of them. But that's about it. There are, of course, 5 of them, so we'd need to come back here on a future occasion when we have a little bit more money saved up. Unless, say, we were to do something like sell some of our exorbitant amount of old bones or other crafting materials here. I'm not sure if you'll actually buy these off of us, but we could make a point of doing something like this. I don't think it's going to be enough to afford all of these, but it would at least get us a little bit closer here. And of course, these are basically all of our crafting materials, because we were putting this stuff on Mardek previously when we were trying to craft things up. So we probably don't want to sell absolutely everything, especially not things like golden conches or gold ore or silver ore, things that there are a limited amount of. But if we have a bazillion of the big creepy eyes and bat wings and human skulls, then we can probably get rid of some of them. And will it be a difference maker here? I mean, 40,000 gold, make no mistake, is a ton. So these probably aren't going to be enough to make a huge difference here. More likely, we're going to need to go back and turn on some of those double gold abilities, or just do a fair bit more battles. Maybe we have a few more big ticket items that we have in our item storage somewhere. Because, yeah, I think generally speaking, we're going to find actually the fire essence, the huge amount of that we have, that will be perhaps the most valuable thing that, at least that we currently have in our inventory, that we are willing to get rid of right now. At least for the most part. Of course, we can go back and get more of it if we were to go back to the Fire Temple. But if we could, say, get up to the point where we could afford 2 fairies, plus the Eldritch Key, we are there now. We could get another fairy as well, that'd be fantastic. Dark Essence, we have a bit of that. Maybe we sell some of it. Of course, also something we could go back to the Dark Temple to pick up more of. And, I mean, the really expensive stuff like the Evening Stars, that's maybe not something we are terribly interested in selling. We did see previously that when we picked up rubies, again, from the Fire Temple, they are quite valuable indeed. So that is one of the big ticket items that we would want to try to find more of, if we do have any lying around anywhere. Other than that, yeah, most things are, at this stage, fairly inexpensive. Not all that valuable to us, or to the trader for that matter. So, I mean, we do still have some other things here, they're just generally becoming less and less valuable. So we could sell almost everything that we own here. But like I said, I think for the most part, we're probably just going to want to play a game of patience here. Come back on a future occasion when we have a little bit more saved up. And, well, at this point, the amount that we have is starting to accumulate a bit here. Take a look at what we have after we sell this stack of old bones. But, at this rate, we're getting closer. We're certainly getting closer. In fact, we could almost afford everything, at least getting quite close. So, we could just eke out a little bit more. Those lizard tails, they're actually worth a reasonable amount. We have a decent quantity of them, at the very least. So if we do this, now we are approaching 200,000 here. No, not quite there. If we were to sell pixie dust in order to afford fairies, that seems perhaps a little bit like, you know, the pixies in the Pixie Village probably wouldn't be terribly happy with us for having done so. But what they don't know won't hurt them, right? So, how are we looking now? I think we've sold most of it. We could sell some poison stingers, though they're practically worthless. So, sure. Oh, tell you what, we have a surprising amount of Fig Essence there. That is something we can get whenever we're in the Dream Realm. That actually, I think, is more valuable than the other types of essences. So, this looks like this could be a bit of a difference maker here. Now we are very close. Does anyone else have anything in their inventory that we could throw over here at the merchant? I mean, Leaf of Life. Well, another Fig Essence. Sure. Was deliberately leaving some in case we, of course, had future reason to want to use it. Other than that, well, we certainly have a lot of bone axes, so we could get rid of one of those as well. But we're not quite there yet. No, more bone axes. Sell another one here. But at this point, still a little bit shy. Well, another Fig Essence. Hold on. It's adding up. We could, of course, go back to a save crystal somewhere, make a point of picking up other items that we have a lot of, and seeing if we can sell any of them for, hopefully, a reasonable return. Things like a sun sword, well, it's gonna say if that's valuable, then we theoretically might still be able to fight enemies that can drop this. Other than that, not sure we necessarily want to part ways with much of these things here. So we probably hold on to them. Manted wings are worth a little bit, so we can do that. At least get rid of some. We are so close at this point. So I am tempted to see if we can just get a little bit greedier with getting rid of some of our other stuff. Even the things that perhaps it seemed like we were trying to hold on to a few of. Because we could, like I said, go back and pick up a little bit more here, but when we are this close, then why not? As for the plasms as well, it's a little bit harder to come by these days, but there are still enough ghosts out there that I think we could make a point of doing that. Now we are less than 1,000 away from reaching that 200,000 threshold. Turquoises, ooh, that's another very big one, in fact. Okay, I think we can continue to get more of these, because remember, the turquoises do appear in the Water Temple. So we have 5 of them. Let's sell several of them here. Now we are well and truly over 200,000. So I think what we do is take your pick as to whose inventory we put this stuff in. Go for Donovan. But we take the yellow fairy here, which is a small magical fairy bound immobile by a powerful spell. Its magics can be used to grant the user auto haste, but it's highly unethical, as the fairy is still alive. So, the fairies, yes, they are a quest item in the way that fairies are, of course, looking for us to return them. However, they do actually give abilities. They are equipable items. This gives auto haste, meaning that, yes, you start battles with the haste status, and we've seen in the past, just based on going against bosses that tend to have that, and it can be extremely potent. So that is a big pickup. As for the other ones here, the green fairy is a small magical fairy, bound immobile by a powerful spell. Its magic can be used to grant the user auto regen, but it's highly unethical, as the fairy is still alive. Similar story. Instead of haste, it's regen. That one, a little bit easier at this stage for us to apply because Mardek does, of course, have an ability that allows us to apply it. It's just, in that case, we need Mardek to take a turn to apply it, and in this case, we could have it automatically applied and not need to do that. So it's a little bit more straightforward to use the fairy. Then the blue fairy here is a small magical fairy, and its magic can be used to grant the user auto physical shield. So you're getting the sense here as to what the fairies are all about. Yes, we do, at some point in time, want to turn them in for the purpose of completing that quest. However, in the short term, they are actually, potentially, quite useful as equipable items, depending on which status you're looking for. Haste, regen, physical shield, magic shield, and in this case, Berserk, the red fairy. So we can afford all of them here. We can also afford the Eldritch Key. And now that we've picked this up, this is a plot item. So, as we saw before, it's a strange, pitch-black slither of a thing that seems to be a key. It's frigidly cold to the touch and seems to be eerily iridescent. So that means that, yes, we just used a key to get in here, but there's another key to another area that we've not yet been able to get into. We did see where that key will open the door, but it was a while ago, so I'm curious if you guys have any ideas where that might be. But, as I was saying, although we did just pick up all these fairies, notably there are definitely some that we will probably want to deliberately hold off on, not turning them in. So, in particular, I think of all these fairies, the yellow fairy tends to be the most effective, because, like I was saying, getting haste on automatically is extremely powerful. So, what if we were to put this on someone, just to give you a bit of an example as to what it feels like. Donovan has not yet mastered the Loot Finder and the Lucky Coin, however, I don't think he has enough RP to actually be trying to learn this at the moment. So, it's functionally not doing anything right now, it was mostly just there as a reminder to ourselves to put it on in the future. So let's throw on the Yellow Fairy just to show you, just to see what that's like. But also, go over here, because, well, barely even remember that this guy exists here. Oh, and this is the person who sells us things that we missed earlier on in the game, and although we did pick up the Bone Slicer back in Chapter 2, he is offering to sell it to us for 2,000 coins. Not terribly interested for that reason, but a good reminder that that person exists. So I am curious to see if we can jump into a quick fight here somewhere and get the chance to demonstrate what that fairy will be like. And just as we're about to walk out of here, we do run into some thugs. So you'll see that Donovan does have the clock icon there, which stands for the haste status. So if we look at the turn order, we find Elwyn is still first, then the thugs go, then Donovan, Mardek, Donovan again. So yes, Donovan goes twice in the normal set of turns because he has haste. So we could make a point of throwing on Solid Sonata here. That is the new physical defense boosting song that Elwyn just put on, and I totally missed that reaction there. So here is turn number 1 for Donovan, and you could throw on a Pyro Shell, because that's another skill that you're trying to master. Then Mardek, you could, say, use Inert Slash on one of these guys. Take them out. Then Donovan goes again, because of the haste. So you can throw on another Pyro Shell if you'd like. Clinic, maybe this is a decent opportunity to boost. I don't think these thugs are terribly threatening right now. They're enemies from a while ago, so I think we should be fine here. And unfortunately, the thug opts to target one of the people who does not yet have on one of those Pyro Shells, but Donovan, you can change that. Mardek, though, will probably end things here, barring a miss. But down the thug goes. That is a cool status indicator as well for the Pyro Shell. Better potions, we used most of those back from the Red Dragon fight, so although not one of the stronger potions, it is still useful to have a few more of those in case we find ourselves needing in and around 200 HP. So, what we could do is we could deliberately head back to the fairy village and turn in some of the fairies. That is an option, because what we might find is that we want to deliberately hold on to that yellow fairy for the haste for future occasions. So it's tempting to do that, and I think we may. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back over to the area where we would be expecting to find that new area that we unlock with that key. And, well, we're getting closer to where that is. Perhaps, now that I'm starting to head in that direction, you might have a sense as to where it is. Aren't too many things beyond Xantusia here, unless it's new Xantusia. I want to double check if there's any other reason to talk to the blacksmith here, but I think, for the most part, we were checking this recently, there's not anything new other than, say, a mithril plate mail that we don't currently have all the items to create, because we still need something like a mithril ore. So, let's head on out here, and we will go out of the city and into the Sandflow Caves. So, what's the deal here? Well, you remember what's beyond this place? I'm thinking maybe you do. This is, of course, a very large area, yes, and probably gonna need to reference the map a fair bit to remind myself as to how to get through here. But perhaps you recall what's over in this direction. Because there is another door that is further along here, except we will need to go up first, I believe, in order to get over here. I believe this area is closed off, at least from this angle, so we'll need to go up through this spot. Surprised we haven't run into any enemies yet, to tell you the truth. And there we go. So amber crystals, huh? I did not remember that you could run into them here. Thought we saw most of them in the Crimson Peak area, and of course the Fire Temple itself. So we're on more Solid Sonatas. And presumably they would have some fire damage, as we've seen here, so throwing on something like a Pyro Shell is maybe not a bad idea, not that it ever really was when we're trying to make a point of mastering the ability. Only takes 10 uses to master, so Donovan's already somewhat close here. Mardek should be able to take you guys out. Donovan, attack at you, because you have haste. So it's useful for using active skills that you're trying to master more frequently, definitely, as well as offensive reactions of either the physical or magical variety. So, Slineth, why don't you ghost? Again, not terribly concerned about these guys here, so should be alright, even if they hit you. Thing is, well, pretty sure that this guy has, 200% fire resistance, so even though it did reflect fire damage back at the Ambrystal, it actually healed the Ambrystal in the process. So that's an interesting one. But we could throw on more Pyro Shells still. And then Mardek has now mastered the Earth Slash, so that's big too. And may take us a little while to get back up to a point where we have a reasonable amount of coins, but we'll get there. Earth Slash, and also, actually, the offensive magic reaction. Donovan can work on that when he's putting on those Pyro Shells, and we found that that was enough there. I believe it was coming from possibly either the Obelisk or, no, the Feathercrest, is what it was coming from. So we could put this on someone else, because I think that is a very in-demand reaction to have. Mardek, I'm not sure if you have mastered it or not. You have. Okay. So leave that on you. Elvian, I doubt you have, but then again, you don't really have anything in the way of magic attacks. You might technically still be able to master it when you play your songs, but it's not really going to affect anything. Slineth, though, you started using it, but definitely have not mastered it. We're working on the damage soak defensive reaction, but I think we probably prefer to work on this first, because this is a little bit easier to do, so we can make a point of using magic abilities and get close to mastering this, whereas this requires that opponents target us with magic skills, and we don't have direct control over that, so let's just make a point of throwing on the right abilities there on our skills, and perhaps swapping over to a different sword for Mardek. However, I'm not sure we have one in our inventory right now, other than the much weaker Sun Sword, but I thought we still had a sword or two that was a bit of an upgrade from Mardek we just were waiting to throw it on. Maybe that's not the case. So, let us throw on this ability here for Slinick. Anyone else we wanted to switch things around for? Ooh, we did take off the helmet for Donovan, so let's at least put this on in its place. And I think that should do the trick here. Head on back up. And so, of course, we went through here initially. We were trying to find the Reptoids. And, well, one other thing is perhaps the primary reason why we're in here before. Earth Temperance here means perhaps no chance that using a fire skill and leeching fire from us. I suppose it doesn't matter if it's a fire skill, it just matters their resistances. And I believe we still have a lot of earth resistance on from having been in Lifewood previously. Now, Mardek, probably good thing that you just mastered Earth Slash, because this would not be the right enemy to use it on. Does mean that you're perhaps needing to use a different ability, though. Such as an Air Slash. Okay. Yeah, so we went in here previously. After we, of course, went to Xantusia and found Slinick. But what was it that we were going in here for? Oh, the Happy Johnnies. Okay. There are some skills in this area that I believe Legion can learn from enemies, so it wouldn't have been a terrible idea to have Legion tag along with us. Might swap over to Legion at least briefly next time we find ourselves at a safe crystal. Needle Flare, ooh, applies poison there on Slinick. Is, of course, less than ideal, but I'm sure we can get rid of that poison soon enough. Mardek, you could even consider doing it here yourself, with something like Remove Taint. So these guys are certainly capable of applying more of said poisons. Donovan, you have now mastered Pyro Shells, so you could perhaps switch gears a bit. Go more of an offensive route. Take out a Happy Johnny. Slinick, I'm thinking maybe use a Fire Breath here, because of course we were saying putting on magic reactions, so we want to make a point of using some magic skills with you. Or Solid Sonatas for you, Eloian. And theoretically was helping us out there. As for whether it was a difference maker or not in that dealing 0 damage, maybe Mardek already had enough defenses, hard to say. But definitely didn't hurt. And some more potted cacti. There, as we saw, is the Pyro Shell ability mastered, which means that in theory, I think we've gotten all the big things, at least, that we wanted to pick up on Donovan. And so maybe that is reason to throw Charla back into the thick of things and have her use the Obelisk to learn some of her new skills. It's been a while since we've seen any Blood Lizards. And here they are attacking us, of course, using some fire abilities of their own. And does that mean that we ought to avoid fire damage to a certain extent? Yes. But Donovan doesn't have many alternatives. We could try just using a physical attack here. We saw previously trying to use it in the Dream Realm, and it was against enemies with 100% non-elemental resistance, so it didn't do anything. But let's try this just to see how much damage Donovan has here, because we will see that it's a lot more than it was previously. Now that he's using the Obelisk, and the Obelisk has more base damage, he means business. Like we were saying before, the Obelisk is the best spear. So in that way, a big pickup. And let's just double check which direction we are looking to go here. I think the answer is down. And we can, say, swap in some party members here, like we were saying. Throw in Charla for Donovan. And if we were to put in Legion, I think let's pass for now, because of course Legion is a fair bit higher level than just about everyone else, other than Mardek, of course, but 35. Vern's 32, which is not terribly far away, but then after that, Laura is 28, and everyone from there on out, Donovan and Solar are the next highest, and they're on 25, so I think, if anything, we'd be looking to get other lower-level people in. Carla's also 27, so she's not terribly low, but mostly looking to get her in because we wanted to make a point of swiping the Obelisk, which we need to actually swap in an item to do. So if we were to say, go this route, Charlie, you have, yes, mastered everything on the Magic Poker. No issues there. were to put a helmet on you, we could also proceed to swipe the skull helm. Okay, let's go that route then. And Charlie, let's just make sure we're equipping abilities here for you. And it looks like we can throw on additional agility, so sure, we'll throw that on. Charlie is, of course, pretty quick already. This is where we fought King Cuthbert originally, but beyond that, there was, of course, this one other area that we are perhaps headed towards now. Yes, at this point, you probably figured it out. We'll Thunderbolt all these guys. Should be enough to take them out. Absolutely. In fact, might have been able to downgrade a bit to just a Lightning Bolt, but, well, the Overkill, I suppose, is fine as well. Or Lizard Tails, of course, we sold most of those there. Slinick just mastered Resist Earth. That is, of course, very big. I think we were saying previously that we wanted to use the Geo Jacket to master that. Then throw on maybe the Night Jacket after that. And give Elwian the Geo Jacket once it became available. Once she's done with Resist Ether, which she's not yet done with, then we'll throw this on because she's partway done. Let's make a point with Slinick. Get rid of Resist Earth. Throw on Resist Dark. And head on down this way. What is in here? Remember this place? Remember where this place leads? Well, in case you didn't remember, yeah, it's the Dark Temple. And so, of course, we were here originally to try to defend the Dark Crystal. Then we did ultimately go back when we were looking for the Dreamstone, the one that we were holding off on looking at for a while, but we did, of course, just read. Now, however, we are back. And what exactly we are back for? Well, do you recall any areas in the temple that we were not able to go through? Maybe you will remember that there was, in fact, one such location. So, we'll take these guys out here. Thunderbolts might be necessary this time. But yeah, Charla certainly has us covered in that regard. Oh, and even a Shadow Blade. I think we were talking previously about how it's possible for these guys to drop them. That is sort of a nice pickup in that, although we have already gotten one in the past, of course you can see here Charla has one in her inventory, if we're looking to just pick up items that are sellable for some reasonable value, I think that does fall under that category. But anyways, I think this is a good place for us to wrap up here. Where exactly will we be opening up that door? It is here in the Dark Temple, but we'll just have to wait and see where exactly it leads next time. So I'll catch you then.